All right, we are live. Welcome. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a great time to be on the Tabletop Gamer channel for sure. Right now, we've hit I think a record growth in a week, and the week's not even over yet. We still have tomorrow. We've gained 38 subscribers in the last 5 days.
Some goofy number, yeah.
And all my metrics have just gone up. It's crazy. I'm thinking of even going to the Paizo Discord and asking for them to advertise the channel.
I mean, that would be fun.
So we got some good stuff in the works. Thank you one and all for those who come and join us on our streams or those who just like our content. It's crazy. It's crazy being in a situation where things are progressively getting better and better. And I don't know. It just means all the hard work is paying off. I can say honestly we're being very successful, especially for a channel that really didn't start producing until September. So it's a crazy amount of growth. I still don't know what to think of it half the time.
Yeah.
Also, you all have to let me know in the chat if the music is too loud or not. The music's louder to me, but if I turn the music down, it turns down on my computer. So I don't know how to turn it down without having it be inaudible. But yeah, and we have Monk coming out in a couple days, and that's going to be a great video.
That it is. I am very proud of my work on it.
It's a good video. Some good shit so far. So I'm afraid because I feel like my quality is now going to have to go up because of it.
I mean, if we want to actually fix that problem, what you can always do is get the brunt of the editing done and then send me the file and I can add some fancy shit.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, it's up to you.
I can't wait till I just start making enough money to just pay you to do it.
That would be very nice.
That would be.
I would devote a lot of time to it if I could afford to.
That's the key word there. If you could afford to, that's the whole point.
Yep.
To afford you to do so. But so that video is coming out soon. That's super exciting. I've been working on the Ranger one a bit. I think I'm gonna wait a little bit to see how the Monk one does, to see if a bunch of people absolutely love it, so I can adjust the editing if I need to. So we'll see. I'm kind of tentatively watching to see how this video comes out. So I'm super phlegmy today.
Make sure all of you listening, when you watch the video, give me only compliments and good feedback. No criticism, please. Nothing. I don't
give him criticism. I need to know if he's worth $1.
Just nice things, please. Say, well, this is how we'll know. Everyone in the stream or watching in the future, if you're watching that Monk video, just go down to the comment and say thanks, Alex, smile. Put a little smiley face there.
Anyway, so yeah, that's exciting. I'm super phlegmy today. I apologize.
Somewhat safe. Weather's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. My family has phlegm problems. I just didn't have them until a year or two ago. I haven't actually. I've been drinking Coca-Cola, so you can stuff it, Devin. But yeah, so excuse me. This session, man, I thought I had a lot more news than I actually do. No, things are great. That's it, period.
Yeah.
I guess you don't really need more news than that, honestly. I'm anticipating that by the end of December, we're going to be at or close to 500 subscribers.
Hell yeah.
Which is nuts. I got, oh God, there's so much I have to do and yet can't do yet. It's very intimidating. It's that thought that, like, I know as soon as something happens, I'm gonna have to work really, really hard. But I can't do anything until it happens.
Yeah.
It's a very foreboding feeling. But, speaking about this stream, today we're going to be talking about, I think, one of... I'm not going to say the most controversial topics, but I think this is one of the biggest dividers between playstyles in tabletop. And we're going to be talking about the obsession with damage numbers and how people view the game. And this applies to any tabletop game. And honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm the one who is weird about it, because I see such a grand majority of people talking about just producing as much damage as possible in a round and getting super excited about that. Which I didn't realize. Yeah. I've been playing games for a long time, so I'm so stuck on the term DPS. But in tabletop, it's called DPR, which is bizarre to me.
I mean, damage per round.
Damage per round, yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I mean, yeah, you're not dealing damage per second.
No,
you're not. You have 6 seconds.
To be fair, you could turn it into DPS if you just divided your damage by 6, but then everyone's damage would look like crap.
Ew, I don't want that.
Exactly. Yeah. So damage per round. It's very interesting. So I already know a lot of my feeling on the matter, but Alex, you tell me, like, your experience with, you know, the damage numbers and your opinion on them.
Well, I am curious how much is going to surprise people. But I want to see the big number. It's very fun to roll the big number and roll a lot of dice and then pull out a calculator and add up all your damage and then say your damage and everyone's like, what the fuck? That is very fun. It is. I've said many of times in these streams that I only give a shit about the character, and it's true. But I do want to do the big numbers, but that's because I like playing a lot of offensive characters. I like playing characters that are the DPS characters. That's what I find fun.
I don't think that's a very strange opinion at all, honestly. I think that's probably a grand majority, or at least a loud-spoken majority. Maybe it's just because people who don't care about the damage just don't brag about not liking the damage. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But no matter where you go, if you look up D&D, if you look up Pathfinder, if you look up anything, you will 100% see eventually a video about doing as much damage as possible in a round with a class or with a combination of classes, or just the title damage appears somewhere. Like, there's a lot of people that care about that kind of stuff. I think that's also because it's one of the only quantifiable parts about tabletop that your hard work and effort can show, like, bigger damage numbers.
I put some stock into that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that becomes obvious when you one-shot something. It feels good.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, I'm an anime guy myself. I like the badass moments. I like the super hype, Sokugo moments. I like the thing. I like those feelings of power, you know? I get that. But I think there's a difference between enjoying the damage numbers and obsessing over said damage numbers.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I think in a lot of my videos, actually, every once in a while, I'll get some person, and it's always a different person every time, you know? So it's a much bigger thing than just, like, a small amount of people complaining about it. It's just every video, someone will mention not liking a class, and death is the best CC. You are not wrong. But every video, someone will say they don't like a class because this thing, resulting in less damage. So what do you think about that specifically, Alex? That a class isn't good unless it pumps out damage numbers?
I mean,
or I'll say any kind of battle potential, whether it's like really big healing or really big damage mitigation as well, because those are also important factors.
I mean, I think honestly every class should have a thing that they're just the best at. There should be a class that's like, you're not going to do great damage, but you're going to heal real well. You're not going to do a lot of damage, but you're going to just negate things from happening. It's just a thing of damage is good, but there's other roles to fill. There's other things that should be going on. Like, you play a game, like even like an RPG, like on this video game or something, you make a party full of like frontline DPS, you're gonna get your ass whooped. It's like, it shouldn't be the baseline you judge a class on. I like the big number. It's very fun. A lot of my characters do the big number, but you know, you should be able to enjoy other aspects, or at least like pay attention to the other aspects, and not shit on a class because it's not doing the thing it's not designed to do. That's a little weird.
Right. Yeah, that was something that came up in the champion video, is they're like, if I want to play a smiting class, I'm going to pick fighter and get cleric sub-levels. It's like, well, yes, that's because champion's not a smiting class.
It's a damage mitigation.
Damage mitigation class. And also, like, a juggernaut class. It's really hard to put down a good champion build. And you can do a lot. And even the damage you can do is nothing to sniff at. But, this is another question that comes up is there a point in a class that doesn't feel fun to play because it doesn't do big damage? Like, all else being aside, it's kind of like the whole stigma of you need a cleric, but no one wants to play the cleric because everyone wants to do damage. Should a game be designed to not need that kind of damage mitigation or support?
I mean, no, because that takes away a lot of like interesting character builds and like fun dynamic. But I mean, I agree with that because I am that. I don't like playing support and I don't like playing healers in my tabletop. It's not what I find fun. I want to be frontline or backline, like heavy damage. I want to deal the heavy damage, so that's what I'm going to seek out to do. I can play other classes. I mean, I think two of my favorite characters I'm playing right now is I have what would you describe Sebastian as? Like, what is his role? Like, probably like a lot of support stuff, honestly.
I would put him as like a support fighter class in a sense. Like, it's like a brawler class, you know, like a brawler class is a class that does damage, but also can take damage as well. Yeah. I think Sebastian kind of lies in that line of does damage, but also does other things. Not fully supportive, not spending a lot of time being supportive, but offers more than just damage to the table.
Yeah. And then my other favorite character is a bard. I don't deal damage. That's not my thing. I am essentially a pocket healer for the paladin, because if the paladin stays up, whatever's in our way is going to die. Because that's what the 5e paladin is. I will bring that up later. Get ready for that. I will talk about 5e paladin smite now. It's the best feeling ever. But it's fun because the character, and I'll say, like, the actual combats ain't my favorite thing. I prefer just the social stuff in that game. The combats are fun, but I'm not playing my preferred role, so I just live vicariously through the paladin, and I get excited for those big damage numbers.
Yeah, and I do have a separate point to make later on this whole issue, but I kind of want to talk about this idea of game concepts, where if it's better to make a game that doesn't require support and like other types of games that do that. I recently got done playing Lost Ark, which today is the last day of its open beta or closed beta before it releases, I think in like March or something. And it is a game, it's an MMO style game where it's kind of feels Diablo-esque. You're getting, rushed. It's isometric view. You're getting rushed by a bunch of little monsters and you have to destroy them all. And the class I liked playing mostly because I liked the aesthetic was the Paladin, and one of their builds is you're constantly producing shields for yourself and your team, and you're doing moderate damage. Every class is expected to do damage in that game. There's no active healing game, and even the characters that are more supporty, kind of like the Paladin, they have such long cooldowns. It's not something that you're adding it as an addition to the damage that you're doing. And people like that kind of game style. Tabletop, I think an argument could be made that making classes more self-sufficient is better. But what's your opinion on that?
It's interesting. I think you could play that. I don't think it's a good idea for tabletop. I think the having what we currently got with tabletop and like balancing it with different party roles is like the way to go. Because for a good party and a good table, you're gonna have a lot of really fun variety. Because a lot of the fun I have in tabletop is when everyone is playing such wildly different characters and like can do such wildly different things, so no one really gets overshadowed. Because if everyone's playing like a frontline damage dealer, then like, they did a cool thing. They did a cool thing, to the point where it just kind of gets watered down. But then you have characters that are like doing fun healing, fun support stuff, like that. It's fun. Like I'll say, I think designing a game like with no necessary for support, like you can do it. I don't think I'd like it, but I feel like you could easily do that. Some people will probably like it. I wouldn't.
Okay. I think you hit a very good point on the head with that. But, right now I'm trying to give as much BFD to the damage kind of outlier as I can. And like you said, you prefer damage, which makes you a really good person to talk about. I always play very supporty characters. Even though like my favorite class, was Wizard. I always liked playing the utility wizard more than the damage wizard.
I mean, yeah, you fill the role good. And for like, if we were both playing wizard in the same party, we'd play it very differently. I think one of the reasons is because when you sit down with the spell book, you come up with really interesting like utility stuff for spells that I wouldn't think of, because I'd see fireball,
right.
beam. Yeah, like that whole thing. It's different people finding different use out of things. Like, that's kind of what it boils down to as well.
But let's talk about something like Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay.
That does not have a Holy Trinity system in it. It's a mix between combat and social combat, and characters excel at like one of those two areas. Not to say that there's not support abilities, in Vampire the Masquerade. But you played the game, right?
I did.
Right. And like kind of the two ways to play like the video game was to make a very socially based character.
Yep.
Or to make a very hard like fighter character, essentially.
That's true, yeah.
There wasn't really a well, I mean, I think it's not even like a team game. You're playing by yourself mostly.
Yeah. I mean, there's like
there's
support
parts,
stuff, but it's
yeah.
like it's self-support. I know there's a class or two that has like, because there's the Blood Mage like clan. I think they get some fun stuff for like buffing themselves to be really strong. But I'm starting to see what you're getting at.
But yeah, right. So like if you were to play the tabletop version, a lot of the characters kind of exist in that dual system. And you can have a character that does decent at both or great at one. I'm sure there's probably some broken ways to make a character really, really good at one and the other.
I can imagine.
And I mean, that's a fun game. Granted, as big of a you know, niche game as Vampire the Masquerade, like I think of the non-D&D style games, Vampire the Masquerade is probably the second most popular game.
I'd have to agree. I think that's a fair assessment. It's the one I hear the most of outside of like with Knives in the Dark or something, Blades in the Dark. It's like those two I would put in the same level.
And it does well without that kind of trinity. So like, what to you? Because you've said now several times, not everyone should be doing damage to make it more interesting. But what if people only want to do damage because that's the only thing they find interesting? Like, what do you do then for your game?
I mean, if you're trying to run that table, you'd have to make a dungeon crawl adventure. You just have to do dungeon to dungeon, combat to combat.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that there's no role playing in that.
I mean, there is, but it's if you want your players to not be like having a shit time, you're gonna have to hard focus on the combat and kind of like sidestep some of the other stuff. If all of your characters are built just to deal the most damage, or just not the most damage, like a lot of damage, they're gonna be neglecting a lot of other things. You're just gonna have to hard focus that.
And then you've gone to say that you like doing damage. But I think you've also gone on the record to say that your favorite two characters that you've ever played are not hard DPS characters. Is that correct? Yeah. Why is that?
I like the personalities I've made for them. That's all it is. I think they're fun characters. In combat, I mean, Sebastian's, I'd say, more fun to play in combat because I can do the fun damage if I want to. Or I can pull some weird trickery shit, which is pretty fun. I mean, my other character, my bard, like Eric, he's fun, but the combat stuff's like, I don't go in being like, hell yeah, I can't wait for a combat. For a lot of anime stuff, I'm always like, ooh, combat. Cause I also like anime combat, but like, Sebastian gives me the chance to do DPS. Which is why I enjoy playing him more in combat. But I do see it is a little weird that I say, like, I mentioned that I want to do DPS stuff than play two non-DPS characters. Though
I don't think it's weird at all.
I got my fill a little bit with Arthur. I got my fill.
True. And yet, actually, Arthur and Sebastian were played side by side for a time.
True.
And honestly, that wasn't a very exciting time for Sebastian as a character either. But at the end of the day, after everything was said and done in that particular section, you still liked Sebastian more.
Yep.
And I think this is the point I've been leading up to right now. So many people obsess over the damage numbers. And whenever you see someone in a comment on any video, or if you go, I'm like in the Pathfinder Facebook page, for instance, and I also have a few other areas where I'm kind of connected to the community. I see a lot that the only thing people like to talk about is how viable a class is when it comes to combat, you know, like because this class or that class doesn't get as high of attack numbers, or they don't have as high as defenses, they don't even get that much health. Like anything they mention about a class is only super relevant to combat. And I don't think that's wrong. I think that the games trick you into focusing on combat because most of the character creation aspects and the feats in the game are combat related. I would hazard a guess it would be between 80 and 90% of all feats in Pathfinder 2e and 5th edition are combat related.
I can see that. I know. I feel at least like Pathfinder would have has a good amount of non-combat feats, but there's still a lot of just pure combat stuff you get.
And Devin actually makes a really good point as well. You get the majority of your XP from combat encounters.
True.
So I don't think tabletop or people who play tabletop focusing on the combat aspect of it are necessarily wrong, because the systems are designed to focus on that. But that's because everything else is a lot more nebulous and a lot more intangible. Like, it's really bad when a game gets too much into social combat, where you can kind of, if you make your character right, convince a character to do literally anything because you keep beating them in the social combat part of it.
Yeah.
And so you can force NPCs to do very uncharacteristic things. Because in reality, that's not how it works. You know, people get belligerent, people get hard stuck on their ideas, and you can't convince them, no matter what. And I think when those situations come up, players get very frustrated with that kind of stuff. Because they feel like the numbers should let them do that.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of it's a breakdown too between like the almost like I feels like two camps, because this is something I've talked to a friend of mine about who does a lot of DMing, and when we DM'd at the same time, still doing that, we had this discussion a good amount. He mentioned early on, like, he finds our two styles interesting because he always ran it like it was a story people were participating in. I always ran it like it was a game first. And I guess that's where my mentality is when it comes to that stuff. Like, because I would be like, oh, the numbers say you win. Because to me, like, if I'm running it, it's a game. You're playing a game. These rules are for the game. I'm going to treat it like you're playing like fucking Divinity or like Skyrim or some shit. Like, your numbers win, your skill wins, good job. You can add realism. There's extents where that's fun, but it's another argument. I think it'd be an interesting table talk down the line where I can rant about why I think adding realism to tabletop is actually really unfun. But that's all in my opinion.
I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah. I personally don't really like, I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of like, oh, I got a nat 20 on my thing. It's like, yeah, but realistically, you can't do that. It's like, oh, okay, well, I thought we were playing a game. But I don't know. I think that's where a lot of it comes down to, like, the fun with numbers. Because in video games, like, yeah, like, it was mentioned by Slug in the chat, like, Genshin Impact, you're like, oh, how can I do the most damage with my cool character? It's that breakdown of, do you view it as a game or a storytelling experience? I do really like tabletop because of its narrative aspect and like the stories you can tell, but I don't know, first and foremost I kind of view it as a game that you can tell a cool story in.
Yeah, and that is the crux. That is the issue. It is both a game and a narrative, and it tabletop is a unique experience that is one but not both. And what I mean by that is it is not a full narrative experience, nor is it a full gaming experience. But it is a narrative game. And you have to kind of play parts. You kind of have to have both halves to make it whole. And I think the I think when it comes to running a game, you have to mix in good amounts of both. Because the reason I love something like Pathfinder is because of the rules, actually. Because I can tell a story in any game.
Yeah.
You know? But what I like is what narratives can crop up from a game system. You see a feat that's very interesting, you see a build that's very interesting, and you make a character based on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's actually a lot of tabletops out there that are purely narrative based, and there's a lot of tabletop games out there that are just games and there's no story to it. But why do people play D&D or Pathfinder or whatever rather than playing Gloomhaven or Daggers in the Dark, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's fair. Like, it's honestly, it feels like the story driven aspect of it makes the barrier of entry kind of lower. Because if I were to sit down with somebody and show them Gloomhaven or the D&D starter box, I feel like they'd pick the D&D starter box every time. Because looking at like just a pure gameplay driven thing, that's a lot of effort and a lot of learning. But for D&D, you can kind of hand wave it, and like if someone's new and they're not understanding it, you can just like tell them this is what you do, or they can just talk. Like it works just fine. I've introduced a lot of people in the D&D. You have too. Like it is a much easier experience than learning Gloomhaven or like that kind of stuff. It's an interesting balance. I think an interesting like that's definitely where like the whole damage number thing comes from. It's, do you view it as just a vessel for a story, or do you view it as a game, or like a weird mix of the two?
Yeah, and I think the people who do it the best are the people who mix the two in the perfect amount for your party. Yes. I think every game does it differently. Every GM, every table kind of does it differently because there is that variety in playstyle choices. And I'm going to get to that comment here in the second slide because I think that's very important.
Yeah. I have my thoughts on that comment too.
Yeah. The thing is that, for instance, one thing I get comments on all the time is when I make a wrong ruling on something. Whether it's intentional or not. There's a lot of times I learn something because I'm like, oh, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. I love that kind of stuff. But then I also get other kind of comments that are just like, oh, you know, the rules say this is how it goes. And I'm like, yes, but I changed that because that's dumb, you know?
Yeah.
One thing that came up recently was in Pathfinder. And to be fair, the person was being they were asking me legitimately what my house ruling was on it. They weren't being like overly critical about it. They're asking because I let players who recover from the dying condition in Pathfinder get back to 1 hit point. Technically, you can't get up until someone gives you a hit point. But I'm like, no, that seems very anti-fun. Because you spend your turns trying not to die, and then when you finally succeed, you just sit there and watch the combat.
Yeah, it's always super lame.
And like that is, and sometimes you just can't get healed. Sometimes something more important is going on and your healing kind of takes second seat. And that's why I allow for that to happen in the game. And also there's a lot of harder game aspects that I soften for fun. Because I don't like anti-fun systems, even if they're unrealistic, or even if they're realistic, you know. I like the encumbrance in Pathfinder, but I hate weight in 5e, because weight in 5e makes no sense most of the time, and your characters get kind of easily over-encumbered. But in Pathfinder, bulk is based on the size of an object more than it is like the weight of it. And it's a lot easier to manage.
Oh yeah, it's way easier. I still don't like it. I hate the encumbrance system. Just that's because I'm biased against weight systems of any variety. But I will agree it is a lot better. And I mean, that's what matters, like it's a game. If you don't like a rule, make it more fun.
True.
That's all that matters.
And I'm against like coin weight and something like that.
Coin weight's fucking stupid. That is.
I think that's the most boring way to implement a weight system ever.
It's so dumb. It's so annoying. Just I when I see coin weight systems, I get really upset. It's so dumb. Let me hoard money. Don't give me like, oh no, this isn't realistic because actually you'd be carrying a coin purse about this size. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Just let me carry around the money. It's a fake world, a fake game, a fun little thing we're doing. Don't add in like your fucking physics and your math to this shit.
And I think the thing is that, as I mentioned before, the games are designed around combat.
Yes.
Because that's what's fun, that's what's exciting, that's what's interesting.
Yep.
But tabletop is only 1/3 combat. It's 1/3 combat, 1/3 exploration, 1/3 roleplay. And depending on your table, those might not be in the same fractions, but there are still 3 parts, you know? Like, there are always going to be those 3 aspects.
Yeah.
If your dungeon has a trap, that's an exploration element. If your characters have backstory, that's a story element. It doesn't matter how big or small those parts are. But I think the most interesting characters always have a good blend of mechanics, a good amount of story, and the ability to do things outside of combat.
I would agree. I think that is an important thing to have.
I think personally, as one of my things I keep running into is I made a combat character. I made 2 combat characters for 2 different games. I made a monk for 5e, and I made a swashbuckler for Pathfinder 2e. And while I enjoyed the characters and the builds, I kind of get tired because I don't have a lot of skill points. A lot of skill points I have are statted into combat-related skills.
Yeah.
And I kind of just struggle to have fun with that kind of element, you know? No matter how much personality I put into the characters, no matter how much story I put into the characters, it's like I'm doing my best I can with my stats and my role-playing ability to give my character, you know, as much combat and as much story as possible, but the lack of exploration elements on these characters, the lack of investigative qualities, I find hurt me more than anything. I would rather take a hit to my damage number than I would completely ignore support. Like, Nikos is a good example when we were playing Out of the Abyss. I was playing a high-level wizard. I had really dumb stats. Like, my charisma and my wisdom were high, my intelligence was high, all 20 plus stats, which is really high for D&D. I even had like a really cool item eventually in that game. I had access to a lot of power, and a lot of the spells I had slotted were not combat spells, and that came to bite me in the butt sometimes.
Yes, it did.
But my god, did I have fun playing that character.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting difference. I mean, like, because I'm literally in the other camp. It's like I would rather take a hit to like my exploration investigative like part of my character than like I would like touching my damage dice. Don't touch my damage dice, you know? Like, don't touch my modifiers. Like, but you know, you find fun in different ways. That's big thing of tabletop.
Well, I mean, but that's not completely true for you, is it? Your favorite characters took a hit to their damage dice for that extra utility instead.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Thinking about it, I do have access to a lot of big damage things as Eric, so I kind of got to walk it back a little bit. If I look at my spell book, which I can, I actually have a lot of things that are there simply because, like, sometimes I get bored of healing. So
True. I mean, Nikos had damage spells, but that's the thing. You don't focus every turn on DPS or DPR for Eric.
No. I think the only reason I don't is because I'm living vicariously through the Paladin. I think that's all it is.
I mean, that's fair. But I mean, like, Sebastian could have gone way harder into just damaging psychic powers, but you have some less like damagey psychic powers, like ground control or repulsion.
Yeah. But
for story purposes.
But I would be very upset if you said, "Oh, your final damage, cut that in half." But if you told me like ground control, we're gonna reduce that a bit, I would be less upset.
No. That's fair. That's fair. I'm not talking about like intentionally nerfing your damage for more utility. I'm talking about making builds that, because in the end, like, it's a storytelling experience, and I feel like we're both the kind of people who focus heavily on the story aspects of our characters.
Yeah.
But I will take less combat feats to take more exploration feats and be happy with it. I still have my combat. I still love combat. Don't get me wrong. I still have characters that do interesting things in combat. But I don't take all combat feats. I take exploration and narrative feats too, to mix in with that, to make it, more flavorful, more spicy. And your favorite characters kind of do a lot the same, because it's more than you're having more fun than just waiting for the next combat to happen.
Oh yeah.
Which is very interesting, because Rogel was also another good character for you, but he didn't make the top list.
No,
and he was all combat.
I like Rogel. I like him a lot. I think, honestly, if I played him again, I would do it better. So that's where it comes from. It's not like... I love Rogel. He is on my list of, like, best characters I've played. Or at least, not best, like, favorite. I feel like I started him really early on in, like, my actual growth as, like, a role player.
That's fair. So
it was held back because it was older me making decisions and doing shit. That then like more proficient me had to walk back or like adjust. But like if we did, for some reason, we just did Out of the Abyss right now, we never did that campaign, it would go so differently. And I could easily see Rogel being my absolute favorite character, because I would have my pure combat plus like the current skill level I'm at, where I feel a lot better. I'd feel like I'd handle and make an interesting paladin a lot more than Rogel. I would do a lot more with him and a lot better with him. So for some reason, if I play Paladin again, or if we do some campaign down the future of like in the future these characters, I think I'd handle Rogue a lot better. And depending on how long that campaign goes, like I'd probably just come to love him even more.
And I think, that's the thing, is I'm not talking about disliking damage. I'm not talking about DPS being a bad job. What I'm saying is, the best characters are the ones that find the mix.
Yes.
They get that mix that suits your style the best. And you can feel good in all elements of a game, whether it's exploration, whether it's narrative, whether it's in combat. Because I feel like if your character sucks at any of those aspects, it's a less fun experience overall. And I think, down to the obsession part with DPS numbers, one of the reasons why people didn't like Champion, Alchemist, Druid, whatever, was because they couldn't min-max the damage as much as they would have liked to. Which isn't bad for the game system. That just means that those are the kinds of classes they don't play. It's like playing a healer job in an MMO and being frustrated when you don't max or aren't at the top of the raid damage. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it is a little weird.
And on top of that, in that mix, there's also this thing of a game works better when everyone has roles to play. So earlier when I was mentioning should a game be a lot more homogenized with the idea? I didn't use that term specifically because it's a negative term in the gaming world. With a bunch of characters that are self-sufficient, it's because it's really fun when you get that element that only your character can do.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure, and I think this is one of the reasons why you like Sebastian so much. You absolutely enjoy the moment like when the dragon came and attacked you guys and you used earth control to get away from it. And your own weird kind of like battle with it, in a sense.
I mean, it was a battle no one else could do.
It was. And the knowledge that your character can do things that only your character can do is really satisfying. Back to Slug's comment about the Genshin character that came out that was the best healer in the game, but she didn't help with damage. Her damage numbers were small and everything like that. Yeah, it's like people got upset. Zhong Li in that game was another character. He was a moderate damage dealer who also was like a mega tank. Like his big thing was that he didn't take any damage.
Is that the fucking spear guy I got before you did?
Shut up. Shut your fucking face.
Listen, it's not easy getting Diluc.
Shut up, you didn't even play the game all that much. Fuck you.
I mean, listen, I will say, Slug, I would contribute to that trend because I also don't give a shit if a character can't do damage. Why would I need a heal if they're already dead,
Well, and not only that, but Genshin Impacts, you don't need a healer.
Not really.
I think that's also where she suffered.
I mean, I have a healer. It's Sucrose? I think she does healing, right?
No. Barbara
she
is
doesn't?
what you're thinking of.
Oh, okay. Sucrose is great. I like Sucrose because she makes the damage go higher.
It's true. But, yeah, it like healers would be a lot more interesting in that game if they had one more of a need for them. Because Chi-Chi was a character who was really great until everyone got dumb damage and could just burst down a room faster.
Yeah.
She went from being a really good character to a really bad character because she only brought healing and no damage. But the thing is that in a tabletop, it's a very different experience. Especially in my games. I like pushing my characters to the brink. I like forcing you guys to have to play in a way that forces you to have some modicum of skill.
Yeah.
Because that's how like the healing character feels that like they're at their best. That's where the utility character feels like they're at their best. The reason why Alchemist is so good is because they have an answer for every solution with their infused reagents, you come up to a monster with a particular weakness, bam, they can produce that weakness easily. And the craziest part about that too, and what a lot of people I think tend to ignore, is when a creature has weakness, even the splash damage procs it. So their splash damage goes from 1 to 5, or sorry, 1 to 6 to 11 sometimes.
Yeah, can make a difference.
And that's when they miss.
Yeah.
If they hit, it would be even higher. And yeah, you're going to come across situations where an enemy doesn't have weakness, where an enemy doesn't have something that's exploited by the ability of the alchemist. The alchemist can still produce healing potions and can even throw them at people with the right feats and be a healer. The thing is that what makes the alchemist really good is that even if you took no alchemist feats, you would still have the utility of being an alchemist and having any potions you have ready and waiting for you with just a quick alchemy.
Yeah.
Champion is a lot the same way. The champions innately just just by being the grace of being a champion, can negate a lot of damage to allies and themselves. And their armor specialization builds into that. Even if you were a paladin that took no paladin feats, or a paladin champion that took no champion feats, took all fighter feats, you know, whatever, you would still be a very strong, durable character who can negate a lot of damage that only keeps going up.
Yeah.
And you would have a pocket heal with lay on hands.
Always helpful.
Which is always really, really good. The Investigator is another class that people don't like playing because their whole thing is they use an action to not do damage to see if they can do damage on the next attack or not. And when they do, they only do a little bit more damage. Where someone like the Rogue can do the same, if not more damage. They just need to have the enemy in the right kind of circumstance.
True. And when you get that perfect situation as a rogue, whew, that feels great. That's great.
And you start
feeling.
pumping out damage. You start doing a bunch of things.
Oh, it's so fun.
But the reason why I like the Investigator is because you make that roll, and with the right feats, you can be like, okay, I could grapple this person, actually, because I know what my next roll is going to be. Or I could hit this person. Or I'm not going to make my next attack, so I'm going to use a spell instead. You know, they take a much more standard approach to it, and then they can get other feats that, like, analyze the enemy, detect if they have any weaknesses or what their lowest saves are. Like, the Investigator can make a boss fight significantly easier just by identifying what the boss's weakness is. And also not wasting their turns doing multiple attack actions. They can even do things like battle medicine, and they actually do it really well because they have their level 2 of their battle medicine. Like, there's so many good Investigator builds that you can play drastically different characters. I'm currently playing a crafter alchemist, or an alchemist investigator in Suzanne's game.
Ooh.
And he uses a shield. He has shield block, so he's kind of tanky. My archetype dedication, I took like an illusion archetype called Captivator, where your words just fool people, and so you get like enchantment or illusion spells that you can cast with it, and you can make them really hard to resist with the Captivator. And so in combat, he can either tank. I can I literally can light an enemy on fire with my words. It's called like Burning Invictive or something like that.
Okay.
Where they just start taking persistent fire damage because I burn them so bad.
Damn.
Yeah. He has a reaction where an enemy is moving. He can make it rough terrain as he forces them to see like potholes in the ground or some kind of, you know, like obstacle in the way that they have to navigate around or through. Like, he has a lot of things he can do in a lot of combat. Does he do the most damage? No. Does he even do comparable damage to any other class? Not really. But he can do damage. He can adjust how he fights in combat, and he can fill such a wide variety of roles. I literally always have something to do. And that's because my playstyle is I need to be constantly thinking. I need to be stimulated. A character that plays with a lot of options suits me very well. And if you are a more damage dealing character, you can have it where you can still do massive damage and have some other stuff on the side. Monk is a really good example of a class that, because it doesn't use weapons, though it can do a lot of things with their open hands.
True.
A monk can be a really hard CC character with constant trips, grapples, shoves, all kinds of stuff. They can add magic to the mix because they're not like Barbarian who can't cast spells while raging, you know.
Got that fun key magic they can do.
They got the funky magic they can do, but like, for instance, a monk mage can cast a spell and still strike the opponent twice.
Muscle wizard.
Muscle wizard.
Muscle wizard. I mean,
wizard.
One of the reasons I asked to edit Monk too, besides the fact I had a funny idea for it, Monk is also one of my favorite classes in Pathfinder. So like,
same.
Yeah, I mean, Monk just does what I want the 5e Monk to do, but so much fucking better. I mean, agreed. Yeah, I that's not hard to be honest, but it's interesting too, because like, yeah, they're not massive damage dealers, but I like I just like that I get to punch some people. I always found it very, very fun that in your big fantasy world, you can just have a character that does a cool spin kick into a dragon, and it's like as comparable stabbing it.
I agree, but that's because I'm also like a martial artist at heart, and I would much rather kick and punch something than slash it with a weapon.
Yeah, I think on a similar vein, like basically the same way of you doing martial arts, I like martial arts shows. And so, in a comparable sense, I also like Monk.
And that's just the thing about it is the Monk can do a lot, but the Monk isn't necessarily the highest damaging class in the game.
Sure.
They don't have the same kind of workarounds that like some other classes do.
Can Monks attack the most? Is that right? Okay.
They tie. Or
with who?
Well, the ranger can do more. Because you can play a flurry ranger with an animal companion, and you can do their 2-weapon strike where they strike with 2 actions, command your animal companion to strike 2 times, and then still have 1 action remaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch when you make your ranger video, because like I keep having the gut feeling of seeing ranger and going, not good. That's because 5e tainted it.
5e tainted it a lot, and ranger will be the next video coming out after Monk. I was going to do it this week, but you're like, I have an idea for Monk, and I was like, okay, cool.
I did. Also, it was an excuse to add Fist of the North Star references.
It's true.
So,
I loved the references.
I put my 2 favorite Fist of the North Star clips in there. So,
but Ranger is probably the highest DPS in class because something I didn't know that was brought up to me. Their animal companion also benefits from their hunter's advantage. So you can give both the ranger and the and your animal companion the precision hunter's advantage, where if it's your hunted mark, you on your first attack for both of you, you do an additional D8.
Huh.
If you're a flurry ranger and you don't have an animal companion, you still can attack 4 times in a round, easy peasy. There's a lot, and because you and your animal companion have different combat bonuses, you're both hitting for max and second with your attacks, and the third actually could just be to hunt prey. You could hunt prey, use your flurry strike, and then command your beast companion to attack it twice with flurry. So they're striking at full and then only at a -3.
I'm gonna have to mess around with a ranger build, huh?
Rangers are good. But that's the thing, is this like there's a lot of classes and they all fit different kind of play styles. But the thing is, when you obsess over the damage, first of all, when you obsess over the damage, you feel you invalidate other people who enjoy the class, first and foremost. When you say a class is bad, you're pretty much saying anyone who plays this class is choosing not to do the most damage they can do which is
Yeah.
not good. Second, there's way more to the game than just combat. In fact,
Yeah.
if you run too many combat sessions in a row, at least for me and my players, we tend to get, like exhausted from
It
it.
gets tiring. Doing 4 hours of just combat is really boring. Or more, depending on your game.
And, and like any good narrative, you need good combat moments. That's true. The stories I like the most are the ones that have very strong combats. But you also need depth. You also need interesting elements. You also need, like, a lot of the anime I like, or manga, or even cartoons I like, they're action. They have very high-paced, high-tension, adrenaline-filled combat, but they also have characters who do very interesting, different kinds of things.
I mean,
Hell.
it's the big thing is you gotta have a reason to give a shit about the combat.
I mean, that's true. Yeah, you gotta give your combat meaning, but also, like, you gotta make it interesting. One of my favorite characters, like, as far as, like, combat and power is concerned, my favorite OP character is Alucard from Hellsing.
Fair.
Alucard is not a world buster character. He's no Goku.
It's no Frieza. Not gonna blow up a planet.
He's not gonna blow up a planet. He's no Superman, whatever. He's an unstoppable juggernaut with powers over horror and not only that, but it's just like he summons familiars. Like, he does all kinds of really batty shit. He doesn't want to do more DPR than Dio.
We can't just talk about Death Battle again, guys. As much as I would love to shit on Death Battle. But
I like Alucard because he's a dynamic character, but he's also strong as fuck. His unkillableness lets him do interesting things like ram a jet into a boat.
yeah, that seems great.
He does damage by not dying is essentially what happens.
Yeah,
it's great.
I mean, yeah, I'd say the same level. It's probably, I know you definitely know, and I think Devin definitely knows who my absolute favorite fictional character is.
Actually, I don't.
Really? Fucking Dante, bro.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't know. I guess I never knew he was your favorite.
Dante is my favorite because he's insanely he's super fun and powerful, but also personality wise, he's my favorite type of OP character. Because fucking he's OP. Like that's
he is OP. Yeah.
But like he's the fun OP. He's just like kind of fucking around a bit. He's having a good time because he cares about himself and having a fun time.
And see, that's the thing. That's I like, if I was to put Dante in a class in Pathfinder, it'd be Swashbuckler.
Yes, and Swashbuckler is amazing.
The braggart,
Which is why if I edit for you again, I'm doing Swashbuckler.
Yep. I'm keeping that one in the wing for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But yeah, and I thought of a character similarly, but I made that character not Dante. Obviously, I made the character very meek, and it was an interesting character, but I just didn't offer anything else on the side besides tripping enemies up, and I couldn't do it. I think if I made a fun character like Dante, I think that'd be I'd enjoy that character a lot too.
I mean, that's when the bit I played Swashbuckler, I was just ripping off Dante, to an extent. Yeah, that's what I do because that's what I want to do. That is a problem. I think honestly, maybe that's for another table talk. But like, there are certain classes that I cannot untie certain like characters from, where I'm just like, I can't play this class because I know I'm gonna play this same character for each like time I do it. It's fucking Swashbuckler and Bloodhunter in 5e. I would play the same character. Like no matter, like each time I would either be playing
Fair.
Dante or Geralt. That's it.
Yeah.
So like I cannot create an interesting character because I just come up with like, oh, here's a fun character. That's Dante. But I could also do that. That's Dante again.
Yeah. I definitely have mastered the art of looking at a character, finding them interesting, and then doing them in my own way. Alexander Anderson from Hellsing, again, was the inspiration for my character Patrick Finnegan, who is an unstoppable juggernaut paladin style character with one arm. And the premise was the same, just unstoppable juggernaut, fire and brimstone priest, essentially.
Yeah.
But they were two very different characters. Nikos was my idea of the evil wizard, just done in a way that's not insufferable. Yeah, Devin, you kind of take the cake when it comes to your James Howlett Regenerator character, because that's exactly Wolverine. The only thing you didn't have was bone claws, because James Howlett was Wolverine's real name.
Yeah, that's true.
It's super funny. Yeah, but being inspired is not wrong. It's just learning to twist it in your own fashion. See, the thing is I spend so much time looking at the roles to master them that it allows me to look at a character, do something similar but starkly different. If you made Dante into a strong skull bashing kind of version of himself, that was my swashbuckler in Suzanne's game.
Fair.
But there was no utility, so I unfortunately dropped that character. And that's just the thing, is just like, that's why I feel like my opinion on this whole DPR thing is very biased. But I also can't stand to see people bashing classes that don't do things that they're not supposed to do.
Yeah, it's unfair. Like, we talked about this like weeks ago, but like as much as I give Pathfinder champion shit, mainly to mess with Devin, of course, but like as much as I give shit to the champion for not being a fucking smite machine, it's not designed for that. I know that intrinsically, and I'm always joking, but then it worries me because there are people who actually think that way, where, especially now that I've seen like actual more thoughts on champions, like from other people, from random internet denizens. I worry that my little joke it could be taken seriously. I know it's not, but
Right.
But it's like, I don't know. I always had those two beliefs of like, champion ain't what I want it, but I ain't gonna like just call it shit. It's just not what I want to do. I'll just play a fighter with cleric levels if I want to do that.
Yeah. Hell, even you can work with your DM and just have a divine caster Magus.
Yeah, easy. I could make a fucking smite machine so many different ways, and I just call them like a holy crusader or a paladin or whatever. I could call them a paladin. That's not technically wrong because there's no paladin class. So, there's ways to do it. It's kind of weird to shit on a character because they don't deal damage when they're not supposed to.
Right. And the thing is like, and the thing with Genshin Impact that happens, that a lot of the people kind of talk about, is you don't need these stupid high damage numbers to beat the game. You don't need teams with all 5 stars that are super geared out to beat the game. You can do that with literally half that.
Yeah.
And so let people play the characters they want to play. So many people in the Genshin community shit on people for using characters like Sucrose, or for using characters like Albedo.
Yeah.
Because they're not high damage characters.
It's lame. I mean, my play style, yeah. I literally am, my finger's always on the 1 key to swap back to Diluc at a moment's notice, because that man is in every team I make. But because that's all I give a shit about is the good damage number. But I'll play Sucrose. I'll have a few other characters that are fun. So that's what I give a shit about. I mean, I know my teammate wasn't fucking min-maxed. Haven't played Genshin in a long time. But my team wasn't min-maxed. It's just still fun. I imagine there'd be some people in the Genshin community who'd sneer at my team. But then I just, make fun of them if they don't have Diluc or Zhongli.
But, also, something as well. Is a narrative interesting when the party has no chance of failing?
No.
I don't know why people are so obsessed with breaking combat to make it so that their characters easy mode every combat, when literally it would make the game more boring to do so. But that's the thing. That's not what they care about. They care about doing damage. They're just like, oh, the DM will fix it. The DM will make the counters harder or whatever. Which is valid but not valid, I think it's more fun to watch a party struggle and overcome an incredibly difficult situation than it is to watch a party one-shot your boss.
Oh, yeah. It's, it's a lot of the cool combat things come from tabletop. Is like there's the threat that you could die. And it's the fucking Dark Souls thing of like, yeah, you could just get your ass whooped. Like, that happens, but like, you pull through, you do some cool shit. And that victory is sweet because you just pulled it off somehow. It was the fucking finale of a New Slate. That battle was fucking brutal. And I got the final hit, and that was amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think, well, one, not everyone enjoys a difficult time. Some people just want to play games to play games, It's like those Musho Tensei games or whatever, where I can't remember the exact name. It's the games where you play like Dynasty Warriors.
Oh, the Dynasty Warrior games.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, that genre.
Similar named. Where you just run through and you just slay a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You're just running through and killing hordes and hordes and hordes of people, and people love that game. People absolutely love that game. There's people who intentionally play games on easy mode.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Everyone's okay to enjoy a game as much as they can, and I think this is just a difference in playstyle choices. But one of the things that I like to do, at least for my games, is test my own ability as a DM by providing a challenging encounter that pushes my players to the limit with the knowledge that they'll overcome it.
Yeah.
But the whole time, like, ever closer as my players are pushed to the edge, sometimes they just are having less and less fun. They kind of give up hope because they're like, oh my god, this encounter is too hard. And that's not what I want for my players. I think I need to do better to instill a sense of like trust me to let you get through this encounter.
Yeah,
I'm not going to cheat for you, but
yeah,
understand that I'm forcing you to use all your resources on purpose.
Yeah, it's a balance because I'll say early in Pathfinder I had that shit where I was like, this is just crushingly difficult. I can't make these hits. I have a 20% chance to actually do something, like that kind of deal. And it's I played enough Pathfinder, enough D&D to trust that like, we'll come out of this fine. Which probably based on our track record together, I shouldn't, Mr. Character Murderer. But
to be fair, those weren't in combats.
They weren't in combat. They were my fault.
One was
we'll push past that. We'll push past the fact that it was my fault each time. But
yeah.
I'll still blame you.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, it's a thing of like, I mean, at that point, it's just clear communication. Like, communicate that, and it should be fine. Because I have that sense of like, I know we're gonna get through this because I've been playing Pathfinder for you for a long ass time. I've been playing Anima with you for a long ass time, so I understand.
Yeah,
but, if it's someone's first time to Pathfinder, it might be a little crushing.
I know, and I understand that. But I tell my players, like, trust me, guys, I did not give you an unbeatable encounter. You just gotta trust me on this one. Just keep doing what you're doing, because I also account now, especially Pathfinder is so good. I've gotten so good at Pathfinder that like I can end an encounter knowing about the amount of health each character will have in a situation. I account for my players not playing super intelligently. I make an encounter to the point where it's going to burn a lot of the resources, and there's a wiggle room. If they play poorly, they'll still win, just even more close to the edge. Then if they played intelligently, the encounter would actually not be as difficult, but expecting your players to be master strategists or to have any strategy at all is folly on any DM.
Yes, that's why I make you do strategy for me.
Well, and see, that's the thing, Slug. I've accounted for that. I know the system well enough to account for that. Yes, but then again, at the same time, that's exactly the feeling I want you all to have, is that your lives are in danger and that something wrong going could have your entire team wipe. That's completely possible. But you gotta trust me. You gotta trust me that I have accounted even for terrible luck. Because I have terrible luck as a DM. It manifests the opposite. I do really well with my boss monsters. I did not intend for y'all to get one shot by the boss with each hit. I just kept rolling an 18 plus on my dice. But I accounted for at least that to happen. It also comes from a deep understanding of how the action economy works and just an intuition built on years and years and years of being a DM. I can't say that every DM is like this. And of course, there's going to be a lot of times where you're running into a DM who overtunes an encounter and kills your party by accident. That's always a possibility. Unfortunately, everyone is flawed, and the DM is just the one who is the highest one when it comes to like expectation of performing well. Because if a DM doesn't perform well, it hurts everyone.
True.
It's why it's not a very easy seat to hop into, you know? I understand that completely. And I think only people who want to be DMs should be DMs. I also know there's a lot of people out there I think there's a lot of people out there who do want to be good DMs, so, you know, it's just about finding your groups. And what we do here at Battle Gamer is, one, show you that all classes are viable, and they might just not be viable in the ways that you think they're viable. And two, there's a lot of games out here for you to play. And, you know, I want to inspire people to be a good DM by being a great DM on stream. I want to make those awesome moments where my players get through blood, sweat, and tears over the boss's corpse with the knowledge that I did not cheat on the bath. That's actually one of the funnest things about rolling on Roll20 now. I used to kind of fudge the dice rolls a lot more because I used to be worse at being a DM. And to do the same thing. But now I have it all out on the table. Everyone sees the rolls. And you guys still overcome these encounters. Legitimately.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's an adage I've had, I think, for a very long time playing with you, because I've been in situations where it's like, oh, it seems hopeless. It's always like, he wouldn't design a thing that's just gonna kill us. Like, he wouldn't do that. So, you know,
yeah,
it's I got complete trust. You know, it's worked out.
You're also lucky that you had me as a DM and not someone who is far less experienced.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, playing at Adventures League, playing at Sakura's table, despite him saying that he is a good DM and he's been doing it for a while, there's so many times he would have party wiped us.
True.
And he had to come up with some Deus Ex Machina to get us to survive.
Yeah.
And you run into DMs who do the opposite. You're beating their encounter and they keep making it harder and harder by throwing more and more bullshit at you, or just fudging the rolls in the creature's favor. Like, you can have DMs of all varieties. And I think maybe that's why some players do focus on the damage a lot, because that's the only thing that they have that's on their side is the rules, you know? It's like the only thing they can rely on is their own power.
I mean, yeah, it's if a DM makes a broken encounter, but you just nat 20 constantly, that counter's gonna be less broken very quickly.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's not anyone's fault but luck. But
Yeah,
if you say are playing like D&D 5e and you have your fighter at level 15 pumping out 100 damage per turn, there's not a lot of monsters that can withstand that damage output.
nope.
And that definitely don't do enough damage to account for that kind of damage output. It's damage is what's in your hands. Damage is what's controllable by the players, you know. And people enjoy looking through the numbers, finding the math that gets them, you know, where they want to be. And that's good. And like I said, the games are designed around combat. So a combat focus is to be expected. But that being the case, damage isn't everything. Combat isn't everything, as much as you might be fooled into thinking so. A character who supports in the back scenes, a character who is your face and who can get you the proper encounters, a supporting wizard who can, you know, like, give you the tools you need for success, on paper aren't strong, but in practice make the game work. The ones who work behind the scenes, you know.
It's the people who fill out the team slot. It's an effective team that pumps out the good damage, not a character with broken damage or like really strong build, because that strong build could die. That strong build could be put in a position where they can't do anything. It's the party that does good damage, not your class. Focus on the party, not just making your shit broken. Make your whole group effective. Work together. Have fun. Be an effective unit. You're not a squad of lone wolves. Cooperate.
I don't know, there's something about the way you're saying that just seems like an overly forced, like, the more you know.
This is the moral of the story. Listen along, kids.
Right. It's a group narrative experience.
Yeah.
In the end. Playing a team game, having characters who don't do a lot of damage but offer amazing support is just as valid as how much damage you're doing. If you're looking at a class and you're seeing that doesn't do as much damage as you would like, take a step back, look at the class and what it offers, and try to optimize what that class does, and then you'll understand what makes that class good versus not good. I was looking at Alchemist because, you know, it was prompted by a comment, and I was like, okay, let me look at this class. By level 11, Alchemists are pumping out for free potions and items that are worth 250 gold by the dozen. Like, when you put it that way, the class offers a huge amount. Like, a team that wanted to do the same thing as an alchemist would have to pump out tens of thousands of gold.
Yeah.
That the alchemist can do for free.
God, ingredients are fucking expensive, bro.
Yeah.
Making all of that shit, that's a lot of money.
Like a level 11 elixir of life, you know, for instance, is 250 gold pieces. I think it does like, oh goodness, what does it do?
I don't remember how much health it gives you. I'm trying to remember. Oh, man.
I'm looking it up. And I'm mentioning this more because the Alchemist video is the most popular, like, growing video on the channel. Like, it's already at 400 views in a week, which is by far the fastest. By far, over 100.
Yeah, I mean it's been booming. It's a good video. I mean, I need to like finish the video because I want to know how to play Alchemist. I don't know how the fuck they work. Good lord, there's so much for them.
Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't Elixir Life. Well, it is Elixir Life. But the level 9 version is 150 gold pieces. And it does 5d6 plus 12 hit points. Which is a lot, but not as much as like a cleric at that level, for instance.
Yeah.
Would be doing, let's see, that's 5th level spell slot, so they'd be doing 5d8 plus, if they use their 2-action heal, 5d8 plus 40 HP. Which is a lot, you know.
It's a fucking full restore for a lot of classes, especially at 5th level. But they get at most at that level 6 of those casts, right? An alchemist at this level, at level 9, could make, let's see here, 9 plus their intelligence, which would probably be 5 at this time, 14 times 2, 28 of these potions. Yeah.
Plus 2 more if they have the homunculus familiar. And not only that, drinking one of these potions is only a single action. If you have the bomber feat and the medical bomb or whatever feat, you could throw these potions at an ally with inaction.
I like how many feats just let you have splash potions. It's really fun.
I love it too. I love it too. And the thing is, the alchemist does this for free. They do this for free. Like, and it gets crazier the higher level you go, because like a level 19 giving a true elixir of life, you know, each of those technically costs 8,000 gold pieces.
Okay.
And as an alchemist at that level, you're producing, I'm going to spitball and say like 46 of these. Like, and that's just elixirs of life. Go to the alchemist page, scroll down the list to see all the different kinds of potions they can make, and then like divide it by like 4 or 5, because a lot of them are like the same potion, only greater versions of them.
Yeah.
But even then, it's a lot.
There's a lot of amazing elixirs and potions that you can actually use. So just getting that stuff that is indispensable. Like,
and you get that just by being an alchemist base.
Yeah. I mean, there's some potions like that are so fucking handy that like make the difference. Like, I will say the Drakenheart mutagen is amazing. I love that potion so much. That has probably made the difference a good amount of times. Just having extra AC, like AC.
Yeah, I was talking to Devin. There's actually a very fun Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde build for alchemists you can do. Let's see here. So there's the Juggernaut mutagen, which you drink this mutagen for a certain amount of time. You gain temporary hit points and a bonus to your fortitude saving throws. And another interesting thing about the potion as well, which I didn't know, if you're at max HP for a minute, you regain the temporary hit points from the potion. Not quite important for what I'm talking about, but so let's say you're playing like a moderate level character. You have you're able to make the Juggernaut mutagen that gives you like 10 HP, right? Or even let's say a level 11 character, because it'll be bigger numbers and more fun that way. So 30 temporary HP. And whenever you succeed on a fort save, you get a crit success instead. So, great. 30 temp HP. That's like a hit or two, right?
Yeah.
The alchemist gets bum ba bum ba ba. Here, pulling up the exact feats. Is it this one? So once you drink a mutagen, you can't be affected by another mutagen until that one's timer expires. So you're in a combat, you gain 30 temp HP. Someone finally blitzes you down. So what do? Well, you use the Revivifying Mutagen feat. You regain 1d6 times half the spell's level, round up. Or for every 2 levels it has, which in this case would be 5. So 5d6 HP. Which could be 30 HP. As an action, you would restore 5d6 HP. Then you could drink another Juggernaut mutagen and gain 30 more temp HP.
Unkillable alchemist.
Unkillable alchemist. Like,
so this alchemist is quite literally what you do in Skyrim. Like, get hit by like a giant and you're like, shit, and then just eat like 50 cheese wheels in like a second.
Exactly.
That's so annoying. I love it.
And the comments, you guys are ridiculous. For free, why do something for free that you never do something for free that you're good at? You know, we're talking about different things here.
50 gold pieces.
50 gold pieces. Yeah. So Juggernaut alchemist build. Yeah, you might not do the most damage, but you're fucking unkillable.
Imagine just standing in front of the boss, like just chugging potions. Like, I fucking dare you, hit me. Come on, do it. Take me down. You can't. Oh my god, that would literally be the fucking the potion drinking hat we were talking about. Like the fucking for like the beer hat, but it's just it's Juggernaut potions, just drinking it as you're stabbing them.
And I'd have to double check, but there's a feat that lets you just pull a potion and drink it as a single action. That'd make the build even better.
Yeah,
You'd imagine, right? But I don't
that'd be an alchemist build. Like, if any class, that'd be an alchemist thing.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one, honestly.
I certainly hope it is. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, I don't see anything about it. Granted, you could have the alchemical familiar that could feed you a potion.
That's true.
Now you have a feat for that.
I mean, maybe it's maybe rogues have a thing of taking out and interacting with an item for one action. That sounds like that'd be a rogue thing. What specifically draw and interact in the same turn? Because you can draw a weapon and draw they have quick draw stuff for rogues. So I know Calden had it. Calden had quick draw and some stuff that let him draw his knife if he was unprepared.
And I think they even have a Juggernaut mutagen specific feat as well. Let's see here. Yes, Juggernaut mutagen. At level 12, whenever you're affected by the Juggernaut mutagen, you also gain a resistance to all physical damage equal to your intelligence modifier.
Oh my god.
So
they know. Paizo knew. They knew you could use that as just for a build.
Yep. It's probably why there's not a quick quaff feat. Just because that would be super annoying because it'd be an action.
Yeah. Imagine if that was the trade-off. You get one of those feats. You can either drink it, pull it out and drink it as an action, or you can have resistance if you drink the potion. You get one or the other.
Right. I mean, there's tons of easy ways, especially in my system where I let you guys draw items out of your pouches as a part of a stride action.
Fucking great rule, by the way.
It is. I legitimately think it increases the flow of combat.
It does. I hope people don't give you shit for it.
They will. It's the internet. I get dislikes on my videos for no reason.
Honestly, I don't get the concept of disliking a video in general. I don't think I've ever gone out of my way or just like disliked a thing. If I don't like something, I just close the video. I've never clicked the thumbs down button.
I have a few times, only because what the person was saying was super erroneous or damaging. Like I was watching
The illusion of choice.
MXR plays. I might have done that one too, honestly.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But like they were talking about like how dirty rats are, and I was like, rats are not dirty. They're actually incredibly cleanly animals. It's very damaging. It's like if someone was talking about like how black cats are evil, or you know, you should kill them on
how
sight.
bats spread like just are awful like creatures that spread disease. No, bats are very important.
Yeah,
bats are great animals.
There's not a single animal
that's
that you can't have negative consequences from. Sure.
I mean, if we got rid of mosquitoes, I don't think anything bad would happen.
There's a lot of habitats that are based on eating mosquitoes.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have mosquitoes anymore, so like we wouldn't.
I mean, it's true. I don't know.
But yeah, no, it's weird. Yeah, I personally don't get it. The only time I've ever heard like someone using the dislike is apparently like you need to do it for YouTube Music so they can stop recommending you like the same song every fucking time.
That's fair.
Like that's the most I've heard. Like I don't know.
I don't know, but that's not the point. The point is, I accept it. I accept that there's going to be people who don't see the way I do. I mean, like, we live in the U.S., and it's already a place where we just disagree with a large number of the population on some things. No matter how stupid it is, you know what I mean? Or how serious it is. Like, you think something should be common logic, like getting a vaccine.
Like getting pineapple on pizza.
See, no matter how stupid it is. But
I'd say that's pretty important, but that's just me, I guess.
It is just you. It's only you, Alex.
It shouldn't happen. Like,
it's only you, Alex. I don't like pineapple on pizza either, don't get me wrong.
It's gross, and y'all gross if you do it.
Agreed. But I will also just not give a shit if someone does it.
I mean, yeah, same.
And that's just the thing. Like, there's someone who's going to look at how I run the game and they'll be like, you are terrible at this game. You change the rules so much. You make it so that your encounters are actually, like, beatable with no extra thought. Like, how dare you? Gary Gygax is turning in his grave right now. You've not once killed your entire party with a, you know, like a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
There's people like that. Like, that's not even... That's like no cap. No cap. There's GMs out there who say if you never party wiped, you're a bad DM.
I don't want to play at a table with someone who has a fucking reputation of TPK. That sounds like an awful time. Why would I make a cool character, like, with the knowledge of, yeah, this guy might just murder them on a whim?
I remember watching one video where this guy was talking about like, oh yeah, I remember back in the day I had my 15 clones of Bilbo Baggins and I was totally fine, and just when he died I just go up and pull up another like Dildo Haggins or Grilgo I almost said a bad word. Baggins.
I mean, you said Dildo Baggins, so like you already
Dildo's
were
not a bad word though.
I mean,
the other one would have been way worse.
You're right, but I'll say you're already towing that line.
Dildo's not a bad word.
Towing line.
They're permitted to be in video games, even.
Shape up your language, buddy. You're gonna get demonetized at this rate.
Right. You know, just. God. Glad I caught that. Oh my god. Anyway. It's just a thing. It's just like he said that, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, that's how you played the game. That's what was fun, you know." games are more fun when there's the risk of your character dying, and if characters don't die, how do you know there's a risk?
Because like there's the risk there. I'm just not going to lose all the hard work I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. No, you can't say that. So the thing is like, no matter what, people are going to argue on the subject, you know, what we're talking about today. I think for a balanced purpose, to validate as many gaming styles as possible, obsession with damage numbers is unhealthy for tabletop gaming. There is no legitimate reason to, you know, ban the use of a class because it doesn't do enough damage. Or even do too much damage. It's a game about cooperative narrative storytelling. You know what I mean? Like, the game is there because it's fun and it's a game, but also to make the story less, you know, 100%. You don't know how the story's going to go. Random chance will change a lot of things, and that's what makes it great. Some people will disagree and say that, well, I came to play a game, and so I'm going to play it like a game. And all I can say to that is, cool. Do you, you know?
Hopefully find a table that works like that.
Yeah. Just don't be an asshole about it. If you're gonna bash people for liking a certain character class, or if you're gonna say something sucks because it doesn't fit your style, you know, fuck you.
You can enjoy the things you like and also not be an asshole. It's very easy. I do it all the time.
It literally is the easiest thing to do.
It is so easy to be like, I like thing, I don't like that thing, and then thought ends. That's where it ends, not I'm gonna make it everyone's problem. Like, I've played in games, and I play in games where there's realism aspects. The GM knows I fucking hate this, and because I've told them when we're talking about other things. But when they say, yes, carry weight time, I'm not like, ugh, awful. If you run your game like this, you're wrong. Here's how you should do it. I'm just like, all right, that's what you want me to do. I'll suffer through it because I like this game, and I respect you as a person. So I'm not going to be a dickhead to you.
I will respect anyone who prefers any game system over another. Yeah. It doesn't matter. As much as I like Pathfinder, 5e is valid, Vampire the Masquerade is valid, whatever. I had a guy in one of my games, well, it wasn't a game I was running, it was a game that Suzanne was running, who bitched about how much he did not like Pathfinder the whole time we were playing.
It's just not fun.
And every time something came up that was better in 5e in his opinion, he had to say it out loud to everyone. And I was just like, my God, it's actually not fun playing with you. It's like, I try to be very open when it comes to gaming, and that was not fun. Anima's valid.
Anima's not valid.
Anima Core is not valid.
No, Anima Core is not valid. Anima Redux is valid.
Yeah. Anima, the Battle of Gamers cut is the way to go.
Also, don't play Anima, but also play it.
It's such a great game, but it's like Jenga. If Jenga, you only had fun if the tower never fell. Which sounds really fucking hard because that's kind of the point of the game.
Yeah.
But that's how I would explain Anima.
I would agree, actually. I think that's a good metaphor for it.
Yeah. It's there's so much about tabletop in general, and you can like the game without being a dick. I like the whole first 30-40 minutes of this session, I gave the DPR people the BFD. You know, there's a lot of valid reasons for focusing on the damage.
Yeah.
But it stops when you start bashing other people for how they play the game.
Exactly. I would consider myself like, I love the big damage. I want to do it. I want to play characters that do the big damage. I'm not going to shit on people for playing other things. I'll play my character with really high DPS, but like, because I like playing that. Someone likes playing another thing. I'm not going to shit on you because I don't think that way. I'm not going to call a class shit because it doesn't do damage. It does other things well. Like, you can do these things. You can have these thoughts at the same time. You can hold different opinions at the same time. It's wild.
And to be fair, poking at a game's flaws is not a bad thing either.
No. It's important.
The point of this discussion is damage everything? Which the answer is no.
No.
I
would say my answer is no, but it's fun.
Fair.
Yeah, that's my answer at least. I think that's a good way to do it. Because it is fun. Arthur's damage was fun, even though I felt bad the entire time.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Unfortunately, the monsters in the book are not designed to handle that kind of stuff.
I'm excited to play Arthur in the future. I will work heavily with you to make sure he's properly balanced, because I want that. I'm going to play him again, he's going to be balanced.
Well, yeah, like I said. Well, the only thing that'll really change is he'll go from shooting like 7 shots to like 4.
Which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I am willing to work through the game to also make sure it's not too much. Because I love Arthur. I do not like the feeling of being combat is unnecessary. I don't like that. It's not fun.
Yeah. Again, this is where that whole like Jenga analogy comes from. It's so easy to knock something out of whack and then completely ruin the game.
Yep.
And you know, that is what it is. But yeah, you know, it like yes, I'm going to poke fun at D&D for some of its unfun mechanics, some of the holes in its mechanics, and for some of the classes being super overtuned. But these are actually like points about game balance and points about, you know, they're legitimate criticisms about a game system. You might think classes should do damage is a valid criticism, but the whole point of a class system is to have classes that don't do the same amount of damage.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a worse class because there's always going to be a class that does more damage. Otherwise, just do what the Krognars or whatever they like to call themselves do, where everyone just plays fighters in D&D, and the dungeons are super hard. You know, where everyone can do the same damage because they're all playing the same class.
There's probably a table for that. Definitely is.
But you can't look at a class-based game and be like, I don't like this class because it doesn't do damage, or it's not as accurate, or yada yada yada. It's like the video where it's like fighters are broken in Pathfinder because they have an average +2 more chance to hit, you know. It's like, yeah, fighter does great damage because that's all they offer. I would love for you to select a lot of fighter feats that are not just about fighting. There are some. Devin is playing one where his character can like analyze an opponent and make a recall knowledge after making a strike, which is good. It's utility. But that's like one feat. There might be like another one or two. But it's like mostly just all about combat. And the class features in general are all about combat.
Yeah.
Where like Alchemist, like I was saying earlier, the whole making a bunch of potions thing of high level, you can do even if you never take a single Alchemist feat.
All I'm thinking of right now is how fun it's gonna be when you make your why fighter is awesome and it's like 5 seconds and you're like you can hit stuff and then video ends.
Yeah, yeah, right. That'd be a great short.
That would be just you can hit the enemy, then it's over.
You can hit the enemy better than most.
Done.
Video done.
Credits.
Maybe that'll be a fun cut to do.
I think you should do a bait. Like, I think if you're doing that, because you post your videos at 8 a.m., post that at 7:40. Like, post it like 20, 30 minutes before the actual video, and trick people for like a little bit that's the video. That would be so fucking funny.
I probably do it in the video, the actual video. I just be like, let's talk about Fighter. Fighters hit things really well, and then I'll just do a credit scroll.
Yeah.
And then black screen for like 5 seconds, and then like, okay, but actually for the video.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun.
That would be very fun.
But, you know, like, damage is a valid part of the game. Combat is 1/3 of the game, and so having a character focus on that 1/3 is not bad. But I think that the best characters are all characters that are diversified, you know. And I think a good example of that is like in any narrative. Look at the character who is like only known for their combat abilities, and that's it. Look at Superman. Even though Superman could technically do a whole bunch of things. Superman's an incredibly boring character. Because he only really offers being Superman to any situation.
Literally the only time he's interesting is when he's paired with a more interesting character. Be it a good guy or bad guy that he's working with. That's like the only time Superman has ever been interesting.
Look at Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Now, there's a bunch of people who like Goku. Which I don't understand, because Goku's an incredibly boring character.
I've heard a lot of people find him inspiring. Just like, fair.
Yeah, and you know what? I can see that. A character who overcomes adversity, who doesn't really have any selfish thoughts, just likes to fight as a challenge. Even when the world's in danger, he wants to fight his opponents at their best. Give them every opportunity. Like, admirable. But, like, kind of a boring character. More people like Vegeta, an incredibly flawed character. Granted, Vegeta's also just a pure combat character, but at least he offers more personality to the mix. You know, like, look at those characters. Then look at characters like Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist. Yes, a very combat-savvy character. Also incredibly smart. Also uses alchemy in a variety of ways that doesn't just involve killing people. And has a wide diversity of things that he's good at, you know. Amazing character. A lot of people like the character. What about you, Alex? You got any characters you can think of that are...
Look at Dante. Dante's all fight and all that, but you know what his utility stat is? Pure charisma.
Pure charisma.
Pure charisma.
Knocking the enemies off balance, you know?
Just kind of fucking with them for a little bit. That's what matters. Just kind of fucking with them. Shit, my other favorite fictional character isn't a combat character at all. I want to see if I can make it work in this metaphor, though.
I mean...
Phoenix Wright?
Okay. Not quite what we're talking about.
No,
but
not at all.
Good try.
That is like my second favorite fictional character, though. So, I mean, technically, like, courtroom, that is kind of a battle. They say that all the time. He has other things he's good at, like lying. That is true. I mean, that's how
social combat. Social combat. I'll give that to you.
Yeah, social combat, and he's a smart guy.
Is he?
Yeah, no, he's smart. A lot of his epiphanies come from just blatant lying, so he can have time to think of something smart. I mean, that's what most of the big moments in those games are him just like, shit, I have one avenue, I need to take it and hope things just fall into place, and they usually do. And also, he's like a genuinely good investigator.
That's fair. But let's go to comic books. Batman. A genius martial artist, investigator, flawed character, you know. He has a lot of different skills. The reason why he can contend with, you know, other members of the Justice League, especially when there are other characters in the DC universe that are similar to Batman in some ways, investigative characters. John Constantine, which I love John Constantine.
He's the best.
But he's not up with the other, you know, Justice League members.
Unless it's like a special thing. But, yeah.
Unless it's like Justice League Dark or whatever.
Yes. When Batman has a magic problem is when he's involved. Right.
It's because he's a character who brings a lot to the table. Spider-Man. Spider-Man offers high agility. He knocks enemies off guard with his banter. He's got superhuman strength, fighty character, but he offers a lot more than just that. Like,
yeah,
you can look at a lot of these kind of things and you see that the characters that perform the best fill more than one role. They don't just do damage.
I mean, it's the thing. I'm trying to think of characters that are just pure, like, all they do is fight. And, like, yeah, they're very unnotable because, like, I barely fucking remember them. The only one I can think of, even slightly, is, like, Duncan Idaho from Dune. And even then, he's, like, a bodyguard, a mentor character. He has a lot of other things he's good at, even though he's, like, just the actual, like, best fighter in that universe. At least from what I know. I've only seen the movie and part of the book. Don't at me.
Fair. The only one I can think of that was actually like an interesting character was Escanor from the Seven Deadly Sins. Have you seen that anime?
No.
For the people who do know it, like the biggest thing about him is he's a character that is the strongest member, but only at noon. And he gets stronger until noon and then weaker after noon. But at noon, he also becomes like a fucking god. But he's also kind of not just a fighty character because at midnight, he's like a super scrawny dude. His power is based on the sun. And so when the sun's at zenith, he's at his strongest. And, you know, when it's midnight, he's at his weakness. And so his character has that kind of dichotomy to it. But he's a fun character, and I love him, especially for the moments where he's being a badass combat character. But I think it would be less interesting if he was in his uber Escanor mode all the time. I think the fact that the fact that he is not that way all the time is what makes those moments even more hype.
Legitimately, the only character I can think of that might break that mold is Saitama, but he gets away with it because it's a joke.
Like, well, yeah, he's a gag character.
Yeah, that's the joke. So it works just fine because he fulfills the joke. And he's likable because he's funny. Like,
it's true.
So he gets you can get away with it if it's a goofy funny thing. If it's like you're trying to do any like actual interesting like serious storytelling, it's not going to work.
I got a good one. I'm not super as proficient on this one. Guts. Is Guts like only got combat going on for him?
No. The thing, I mean, I will not go on a berserk rant. Promise. I will do my best. He is a combat character. His entire life is dedicated to fighting. But the thing that makes him interesting is, one, the fact you follow that man from his literal birth and see why he is the way he is. And also the fact that he's just, you know, he has like unlimited willpower. And his entire skill set is struggling past whatever adversity comes his way to push through it. I mean, he's literally called the Struggler by like the extra-worldly creatures. That's his title. But no, he's not. He's fighty, but he's a dynamic, interesting character. I will say, if playing him in a tabletop game, he has absolutely no fucking social stats or like utility shit, nothing. But he makes up for it by being an interesting character that has more going on.
Do you honestly think other people could play him
Not
in
really.
Tabletop?
I don't think so.
Do you think people could play a character like him in Tabletop?
You could play a character like him. I think that if someone's just going to play Guts, it's not going to work, because the reason Guts works is because you as the audience have a deeply personal relationship with him. So it would work for the person playing him and no one else. That is what I think would happen if someone just made a one-for-one recreation of Guts.
But do you think a character like him would do well on a Tabletop? Considering our discussion.
By someone very, very proficient. Someone who is very good at roleplay. Anyone else, no. I would say they shouldn't. Like, in literally 5% of like people playing Tabletop, I would say could do Guts well. Or at least a character like him. Everyone else is going to just be big fighty boy. And be very boring.
Okay. Well, that is it for today. I think we had a good discussion. I think we have both good outlooks on this subject, and we don't 100% jive on we don't 100% agree on everything when it comes to it. Which is why I thought this would be a good discussion to have.
Oh yeah, totally. It's very interesting to talk about this because it's very fun to describe something, or like working at least because you have a lot of characters that I think are really fun, but if I played them, I would not like their playstyle.
That's fair.
I would not pick your characters in a fighting game matchup, for example, like ever. So it's a fun difference of opinion.
That's fair. And it's good to have someone who likes DPS and someone like me who likes support. Like we're playing Gloomhaven and I play the Brute or the Cragheart, and I play the straight up tank. I go in, I face tank, I do some good damage. Brute's a juggernaut at heart, but I enjoy just being the front line while someone else like the scoundrel can go and do 16 damage. Yeah. Which is a lot in that game.
I meant like me playing the Brute is very different.
It's true.
I'm there for the kill. I'm there to like deal some massive damage.
And you can play the Brute like that,
Yeah.
But I enjoy either classes that have very high utility or that make me think a lot. They're not the best or most meta, I understand. I will never be a pro gamer. I will never be like a top league player or whatever.
No. Because
I like things that have a way higher skill cap with less reward. But those are the ones that are the most fun to me. But everyone can play their own game, if you just like playing simple characters where you can focus mostly on the role play than on the actual mechanics of your character. That's completely valid. I actually struggle with that. So if you can do that, you're amazing in my eyes, because I can't play characters like that. I try so hard with my role play, but I get so fucking bored. Oh, actually, you know what? Something that came up in a recent video. Do you think I curse too much in these chats? No.
Why?
Some people. Well, it was mentioned that like I would like to share your videos, but dropping a hard F-bomb is makes it difficult. And
that's on them.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're not cool swearing, good for you.
Yeah,
but
that's up to you.
I'm in the same boat. I think that's on them, not you.
That's right.
I feel like I'm a bit more vulgar than you. So
honestly, I don't know. Neither of us are big cussers.
I will say I swear a lot, but when I'm writing or like doing creative things, I don't, because I think like cursing is a crutch for language. Like at least the American form of it, I think just cursing in general is a language crutch. And so in writing or doing things creatively, I try not to. I make sure that a lot of stuff I do when I swear, there's a purpose for it. Because that's more interesting. Though in real life, no, I swear a lot. I'm an art student. That's the environment I'm always in. if you talk to a lot of like, I think a lot of film students are the most vulgar people I've ever met. So kind of just honestly, they're so fucking vulgar.
Strange look into the world of art.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, you literally have an art form that's like, the fuck did you just say you're gonna do? Like, you're gonna tell me not to do a thing? Fuck you.
Yeah,
like that is fair. The entire art form.
I mean, so, like I always cuss in very like moderation, you know.
Yeah,
like,
you don't swear too much. I know I've met people that swear way too much, and it's genuinely annoying. You do not get to that level at all.
No. Okay. Something I want to bring up just because, like I said it a few times, and it's like now it's like sticking out. It pings me every time it comes. Like, is it too much? Is it not enough? I don't know.
No,
but I'm not one for censorship, so yeah. I don't do it a lot. I don't do it in expressly vulgar ways. It's more like sentence punctuation, you know. Like there's a lot of times where it just comes out just as a natural part of the conversation. And I think it's organic, you know.
It's like honestly, like I'm naturally a little distrusting of people who just never swear.
It's fair. But that's it for this session here. We are looking at, you know, getting probably 40 subscribers in a week, which I think will be a record. We had a record of most subscribers in a day, which was this last Saturday. We got 12, which is a record, or 13. Which is nuts. And I feel like that's just going to keep happening. It's just like every couple weeks that number is going to get higher and higher, and the average is going to kind of keep going up and up. I'm excited. And if you've all enjoyed this, please like and or subscribe on your platform of choice. Also, you can join us down in the Discord in the description or below on Twitch. As you know, it's a place where we talk about tabletop there and Warhammer even. Also, if you want the chance to play with us in our games in the future, you can I always recruit there first for our games, so you can join us there. And you know, what we're starting here is really good. We're on this increase, you know, and yeah, the channel's not big right now. Like, in the world of YouTube, if you don't hit 1 million subscribers, your name's not even worth remembering sometimes. Even less so if you're less than 1,000, considering that's not, you can't even monetize unless you have 1,000.
Yeah.
But in just 2 months, we've already hit over 200. We're growing really fast. Ridiculously fast, actually, for just a new channel. And you can be here at the ground floor as we're going up and up and up. And I have no doubt in my mind that this will actually become a thing. You know, all this hard work that we're all putting into it will actually make a career and a life, hopefully. That's my goal anyway. So, not to say that my channel is going to be the best channel in the world or anything like that. Just, it will be enough. And that's all I want. Yeah. And you can look forward to our monk video coming out this coming Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can catch us playing in our live play, Shadows That Laugh, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we go to about 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yeah, I don't think I got any. It's so weird. I used to have like a ton of news, and now it's just like, oh yeah, well we got more. That's kind of just what it comes out to every time. No. Yeah. Also, be sure to rip Alex a new one on the new video. Point out every flaw, and you know, I figured I would contrast the beginning of this chat with the end of it. Gotta have that duality, you know. It makes the chat more dynamic.
Who are you gonna listen to? No, honestly, if there's anything you think that could be improved on, please comment. I'll be monitoring it. I am curious if there's anything I could add or at least alter to make it like flow a bit better or work a bit better as a video. this is a career path and like a thing I want to do and eventually do well enough to make money on. So any help in that field will be genuinely appreciated.
I think that's
be
interesting.
as brutal as you want towards me. Honestly, I get my work ripped apart in my film program enough. I can take it. I don't actually take anything personally.
I do like the video though, personally.
Oh,
I think it's great. And I think that's a great duel, or a great. It's like why this combination works is because, you know, I'm really into the production of things, and you're really into I'm into the creation of things, and you're into the production of it, and we both have our own goals, but we can come together to do something like this, and our other games. It's a good dynamic.
Yeah, I could not do this YouTube shit. I'd lose interest after a month. I'd get really bored of it. So fucking respect for carrying on, dude. I couldn't do it.
It's been a hard amount of work, and for the first like almost year of doing it, nothing happened. It was very hard, emotionally and mentally, to see it now growing, and especially growing at this rate where, you know, in a year things will start changing, and knowing that it's going to just keep ramping up and ramping up. I just have no words. But beyond that, thank you all so much for being here. Good luck in your games. Leave the bad luck to me, and we'll catch you all in the next chat. Let's say goodbye, Alex.
Goodbye, Alex.
I want to give you one small glimmer of hope before this video comes out, because I know you're going to be stressing over it.
A little.
Anyway, good night, everyone.